Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Archlector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Best Served Cold, Joe's first standalone, and the next First Law entry after the original trilogy. And on this episode, we review The Forlorn Hope and Mercy and Cowardice. So let's get started. As usual, want to thank you all for your continued support, especially in the light of hiccups like the one we just suffered today. Looking at a certain Brit over here.
Yes. Not even an hour ago, I realized that I'd uploaded the wrong file to the Buzzsprout page. So, all of the 40 people that started listening to the previous episode and realized it was the wrong one, I'm really, really sorry.
God damn it! That's what happens when you British misspell English. All right, that's what happens.
Yeah,
it almost sucks for those
the loyal listeners that had started listening to the new episodes straight away. I'm really, really sorry. We love you so much.
Yeah, you can think of it like George let down the most important people of our podcast, people who are so dedicated they watch it as soon as it comes out. You know.
I know. I'm such a failure.
But to those people who always watch it when it first comes out, it ends up being usually about 100 people. You guys are the real heroes.
they're in for a real surprise. But it has been fixed, right? George was on it. He fixed it, straight away, right?
Yeah, the second I found out, or maybe like 10 minutes after, I don't know.
It's not a big
the hour he found out, he was on it. He was on it pretty quick.
Yeah, around that,
yeah. So we just like I said, we want to thank you all. We want to remind you all to follow us on our social medias, our YouTubes. By the time the episode releases, I will have already released another audience chamber video on the YouTubes and the social medias, and I hope you enjoy that.
And I should have released the other video as well.
Yes. Harrison, you're gonna have yours done by this week, right?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
My man, I love it. So we got, you got a couple extracurricular activities coming your way, and we are dragging George kicking and screaming to do another tinfoil theory soon. So hold on to your butts for that one.
Man, I just can't take the criticism,
What criticism? People loved it.
I say criticism, I say slight criticism. Like, people just come and question my theories, and I just fold straight away. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
But first of all, you chose crackpot theories. You have to understand. People are going to be like, wait, what? And second of all, you actually have more people agreeing with you than I expected. I was confused.
I know, but I've slowly started to realize that I am the worst conspiracy theorist ever, because the second somebody comes at me with a logical explanation, I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah.
No, that makes sense. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. All right. Well, as usual, like I said, want to thank you all, shout you out. Great. So let's move on to our first segment. As usual, it is Best Meme of the Week. Georgie boy, that is you. Take it away.
So this one comes from hot_packets_. Average day with the company of the gracious hand, and it's peasant, I cannot afford to pay. Your demands are unfair. Oscar, you talk a lot of shit for someone with such a flammable house. It's just a picture of what looks like either a Saxon or a Viking raid. It's just like I don't know where that came from, and it's such a weird, specific picture that doesn't make any sense, so it's just so strange.
It's just so funny just to see average day with the company of the gracious hand, and it shows a man on the horse looking down at some peasants. It's exactly what Koska would be like. Oh, like,
just ride up, like, all right,
kill all of you.
Who's got something I want? Otherwise, we're just going to murder you.
Oh,
people root for this guy.
Well, not by the time of this. This is a red country, right? The gracious hand.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So by the time we get to him there, we're like, ooh, Casca. Ooh, that's it's quite the fall from grace.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah. We'll save it, I guess. Wink, wink. All right.
Grace. Oh, what grace?
What grace? We'll move on to our first chapter read through, which is the Forlorn Hope. And we start off this chapter with the perspective of our boy, Friendly, our favorite bean counter. And he and Koska are out and about in the streets of Viscerine, taking in the nightlife. More actually, they are creeping around, getting ready to look for the fallen soldiers of the Talon's army, to snatch some uniforms. So in essence, they're basically grave robbers without the grave. And
Just first of all, I want to talk about fucking Friendly's perspective.
Mhm.
Who knew Friendly was such a wordsmith? Like, he can just come up with all of these wonderful descriptions of a horrible siege, and then it's just like, yeah, there's fucking 6 bodies on the ground.
Yeah. Friendly isn't used to this kind of setting, and we see the kind of panic set in almost. We see that they've already have collected at least 3 uniforms, and him and Casca are gallivanting throughout the streets. And apparently the first night, as soon as Gamark and the army surrounded the city, they started launching Gurkish fire up all over the place. And Viscerine is burning.
And I love this little rant that Costco goes on, like, 10 years ago, these people would never have thought of using this stuff as a weapon of war, but then they fucking reduced Goska and Adua to ruins with it, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty much the way war works,
Yeah.
Find something that will kill a lot of people very quickly, and you've got it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that thing could probably be used in a better way.
Not sure how you could use that in a better way, but okay. I get the sentiment. At first, Friendly was counting how many barrels of the stuff they were launching over. I think it was 118. Then he lost track of all the fires.
Which is probably part of the reason why he's getting such severe anxiety about it.
Because you can't count how many fires are going.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's a recurring theme for Friendly as well. I mean,
because he's losing
very
control.
Solid. Exactly. He's very, very solid with his numbers in the first few chapters. 6 this, 6 1. This is this and this and that, and they can relate to things and can make ideas in his head about the way the world works. And now he's like, oh no, this and that, and there's hundreds of this and hundreds of that, and he just can't keep track anymore. But it's sort of like a very simple version. No offense to Friendly, but a very simple version of the way that most people's minds work. If you become overloaded, you just can't work anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and he does think back to his time in safety a couple of instances, right? The first one, he thinks back to when there was this old man that was also in safety, in prison alongside Friendly, and was regaling the prisoners with tales of a time before the old time when this world and the world below were one and devils roamed the earth. And everybody laughed at this old guy, even Friendly, because you don't want to, stick out like a sore thumb. But when everybody went to bed, Friendly crept back over there and was like, Sir, how long ago was it? When did this really happen? And the old guy goes, I don't even know, but I just know it was Ayus and his homies. And now Friendly kind of thinks that whatever that time looked like, it resembles what Viscerine is looking like right now, with the siege and the fire and the chaos and the soot and the people running in and out through it. Like, I guess you can see, like, you can't really see too well. There's a lot of smoke and the battling that's going on, the breaches and everything. So Friendly is unnerved, I think we could say.
Yeah, it reminds him he's completely lost control. He can't count shit. It's chaotic.
Things are out of order, and Friendly needs things in order.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't help too that like his only recollection of this kind of intensity is of somebody referencing literal hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of like he feels like a powerless little boy hearing about a story, and now he's in it. So it definitely, like, this chapter has a different feeling to it than almost any other chapter in the entire series. There's definitely like this, terrified feeling, and we get maybe one other chapter of the ground level of a siege. We saw Dagaska, we saw Galacta, like, oh yeah, up in a tower. I love Galacta, but like obviously he wasn't in the thick of it, and and seeing it, like Joe does such a good job at showing the thick of the siege and how brutal it is. And it emphasizes it even more by showing him through the eyes of somebody like Friendly, who is, more affected by this kind of thing than most people are. And it really creates a sense of like the shift in tone suddenly goes from being like, aha, we're having a fun little bout on the roof of a building to this is hell.
This is hell. War's hell. Yeah. Yep. Very well put, Harrison. And another time that Friendly is taken back to safety is the sound, right? The noise that is being made with the shattering of the barrels of Gurkish fire, things collapsing, people screaming. He's taken back to a time where there was a very famous riot in safety. Such a big riot that it took Friendly and 6 other of the most infamous inmates to kind of put a stop to things, which I wonder how they put a stop to this riot, because Friendly doesn't necessarily strike me as the kind of guy who would like negotiate or politic, right? I think he kills the ringleaders of this riot.
Well,
I think that's what he does.
No, I think he's just a muscle, isn't he? Like, he's the most feared, but he's the one that's going to put you down if you fucking chat up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like, everybody else makes the decision. Probably Sir John, thinking about it.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
That would also make sense why he was, like, working for Sir John as well.
You're right. That does make sense. Yep. And as they keep moving, they finally get to where the breach is. When they come upon the breach for the day, it's already a battle. It's already have occurred, right? We have the Talonese soldiers, the Viscerites, the Viscerinians, the Visitutes. They're they're battling with each other, and it's just a press. We saw this kind of similar thing right from the perspective of Logan in the Battle of the High Places, and Friendly is now observing it just on the outside. Like, he's not in the thick of it, but he sees just how chaotic it is. He makes a point to note that he's as good as a fighter, he thinks in his head, when it's almost like a regular fight where there's a form to it, there's space, this and that. But when it's just like a mindless press, he's astounded. He goes, how do you even move? Like, how can you navigate that? Casca, this is him thinking to himself all these things, and Casca goes, as he looks at the breach, he goes, "Oh, that's a hot one." Friendly's like, "What?"
It's so casual, isn't it? He's just like, "Yep, that's a bad one. That one."
Yeah. And then Friendly goes, "What do you mean?" Casca goes, "Oh, I've been in worse. The one at Muris looked like a slaughter yard when we were done." And Friendly looks back at the breach, that mess, that press. And he goes, "You've been in that?" And Casca just kind of waves it away. He goes, "Yeah, a few times. But unless you're crazy, you kind of get tired of it. It looks like fun for a bit, but it's no place for a gentleman."
It's funny to think that Friendly is possibly the least fucked up person in the gang.
It's hilarious.
Well, he was like, he was in safety as like a child, right? Like as a kid.
He's probably a sociopath, but he's probably the least like exposed to all the weird shit in the world.
I don't even know if he's a sociopath. I mean, he very well could be, but I will say he probably he wasn't educated on social graces, but he would just think, who in the right mind would get in that? Yeah. But people that we think are normal people sign up to be soldiers all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that I mean, just the whole idea of how Friendly views Casca and how Casca views Friendly is like, well, it's pretty adorable, and it works really well. I almost wonder like if Joe had thought of these characters beforehand and then thought how they got along and realized they worked really well together because they're kind of opposites in how they socially stand. And if that's what made them go together, or if he made them with the intention of them working together, I feel like it's the first, knowing how he is, which is more impressive. So that's pretty cool.
I never even thought of that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense as to why we get the dynamic we do between Morveer and Casca, right? Because we both have two guys.
Oh, it's like a love triangle, but like a Joe.
I don't know about a love triangle, but
a hate triangle.
I think it's not a hate triangle either, because like we're not including Friendly in this. Hold on.
Okay, an apathetic triangle.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna make this work.
I'm deleting all of this anyway.
No, you're not. Fuck you.
My point is, like, with Morveer and Casca, we have two men in entirely different professions, well known in their professions. I won't necessarily say really good at the professions, although Casca, even though he's old and even though he's a drunkard, when he was on, right? And they both try to be funny. Casca is intentionally. Morveer is funny unintentionally, because he rubs people the wrong way. And even Casca he rubs people the wrong way too, with his actions, his constant getting drunker and everything. They rub each other the wrong way, but Friendly and Casca get along really well, as to your point, Harrison, because they're polar opposites in many senses of the, in many.
And then again, Morveer and Friendly barely even acknowledge each other.
Yeah, I think that,
and Morveer never spares a negative thought to Friendly.
Yeah, I have that thought here, right? So Friendly and Casca are opposites in every way when it comes to social behavior, and that's why they kind of want to be each other in a subtle way, whereas Morveer and Casca want to be each other in terms of even though neither one of them don't actually want to be that. If that makes sense. Like, as in, Morveer wants to be revered and renowned and famous and popular and charismatic. Yeah. He wants that, but he will never admit it because he's obviously a narcissist. Now, Casca wants to be conniving and clever and always get away with stuff and not care and do whatever he wants and eat whatever he wants and be whoever he wants and be, in the dark, but he can't because he does care. And I think that's such an interesting dynamic. I will say this, where I think I might disagree with you on what Casca wants, where I think, and just, we can obviously game it out. I think, despite, people ragging on Morveer or whatever, people respect him as the best in his field. I think Casca might secretly desire,
according to him anyway,
that. No, I mean,
he is.
Monza went straight to him, whatever. I think Casca secretly desires that same level of respect, because one thing that Casca has not really had is he's had people enjoy his company. He's had people laugh at his jokes and all this stuff. But in terms of respect, no. I mean, everyone calls Casca a fucking drunkard. They called him this and that. They don't talk to Morveer like that. They talk to Morveer like, no, dude, we're not killing this many people. Oh, dude, no, you're being silly. Oh, your jokes aren't funny. But in terms of respect for the craft, they respect Morveer.
Yeah,
Casca doesn't get that respect.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way.
I think it's more about a social kind of inclusion kind of thing, isn't it?
Well,
he's respected professionally.
That's what I'm saying. Respected professionally. That's what I'm saying.
But he doesn't get included because he's an absolute prick.
Yep.
Like, and we see that several times with like all the jokes where it's like, ha, I've poisoned your balls. I don't know what and it's like, shit, that was a bad joke.
Yeah.
But that's what makes him so funny, because everybody's done that. Everybody's made a bad joke and everyone's just been like, what the fuck?
Exactly. It's such a bad joke that even his own assistant was like, never mind. And she's the one that can't keep food out of her fucking face. So anyway,
back to the serious chapter.
Yeah, back to the serious seaweed chapter. Casca tells him that, I've been in plenty of times. And Friendly asks him, well, how do you know which direction? How do you know who's who? How do you know you're not going to kill your own fellow soldier? Casca just says, well, essentially you just hope that you're pointed in the right direction. So it's like, oh, okay. So you just go stab, stab, hopefully in the correct direction that you were originally pointed in. And so it's getting kind of shaky over there, folks. And they notice that a contingent of the men in that press, that group, have broken off, and they're making their way in the direction of Friendly and Casca. Kind of confusing until Friendly turns around and sees that contingent of Viscerinian soldiers are moving down the street. So now we see that they're gonna clash here too, not far from where Casca and Friendly are. So Casca pulls Friendly into an alleyway to kind of get away from it, and they see a dead soldier on the ground. And there's a woman and some other people. I guess they're crouching over this dead soldier, and what they're trying to do is they're cutting off the fingers to get to some rings, loot this poor dead soldier.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, as you do. You just loot dead soldiers, right? Who does that? Who does it? Like I said, absolutely.
100 scales? Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. So then there's a bit of a standoff between Casca and these people. Casca branches the sword. Is like, be gone, you knaves. And then they go, fuck you. They finish off cutting this guy's fingers. They grab the rings, whatever. And then they just toss the fingers at Casca, and then they dip. They leave.
Pocket fingers.
And then Casca looks at the soldier, right? And he goes, he's Taiwanese. Perfect. Let's go grab his shit. So Friendly is, okay, I want to get this done quick. But his hands are shaking. He's so nervous, taking off the soldier's greaves, his breastplate, and everything. Excuse me. And he's sweating.
There's vomit on his tunic already.
Mom, spaghetti.
Well, he's just having a bad time, isn't he? He's just having an absolutely bad time.
It's kind of this whole little chapter is just basically them trying to get these uniforms. Casca just being like, do. This is my normal environment. I thrive in this environment. And Friendly going, oh my god, how can you thrive in this environment? This is fucking crazy. This reminds me of this time. This reminds me of this time.
Exactly, and it makes me feel so uncomfortable to listen to, or even to read this chapter. It's just Friendly being so fucking out of his depth.
Yeah.
And the way that comes across in the chapter is so good. It's just a testament to Joe's writing,
Yep, exactly. And because we've always seen Friendly from internal views and external views from other characters' point of view, for him to be calm, cool, and collected, unless you insult his dice, unless you call his dice, you lying, cheating whore. Apparently, that's the wrong thing to say to Friendly. But here, he's out of his element. He's off his game. He breaks off the flat bolt that's in the guy's neck, turns him over, and then we just hear, help me. We go, what the fuck? What's that? We think it might be Friendly. But then Friendly looks, it's the soldier. The soldier's eyes are open, and he goes, help me. And we go, so can you think about this for a second? Like, this man is incapacitated, fucking maybe paralyzed, who knows? And he's just there while people are cutting off his fucking fingers to get some.
Help me! It's like the worst. It's literally the worst situation for.
Oh my god! I can't even think about it.
If there is a god in the First Law universe, he definitely arranges this just to torture him.
You know what I think? I think if there is a god in the First Law universe, he saw what he created, and he goes, you know what? I'm just gonna pretend they don't exist. I'm gonna go deal with another planet. I think that's exactly. He just goes blind eye. He goes, mm-mm.
We all know that the real god of the First Law universe is Joe Abercrombie. So
that's true.
Joe, you sick fuck. What are you doing to my boy?
And then after the guy says help me for a second time, and Friendly goes, how? And then he continues pulling off the guy's stuff, and he just turns him over again on his face, and that's it. They're just gonna walk away.
They can't even put him out of his misery.
What? Just stab the man, break his neck, something. And then Casca goes, all right, great. Let's. Casca does not acknowledge the life of this soldier, this soon to be done life. Oh man. And then Casca goes, great job. All right. So how about that way? And then Friendly goes, oh, why that way? And Casca goes, why not that way? And Friendly at this point goes, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then Casca kind of reassures him, right? He goes, listen, that's understandable. But we should stay together. And then Friendly is he shows off that he continues to show that he is getting progressively more anxious and scared, freaked out. He can't. He says he's losing count and he can't think. He says, "What number are we up to now?" And he asks Casca, "Have I gone mad?" Casca, again, reassuring hand on the shoulder, says, No. You are saying this, all of this." He points at the entire scene around him and he goes, "This is insanity." And that's the end of the chapter. Boys, how do you rate that?
I absolutely fucking love this chapter. I'm gonna give this one an 8 and a knuckle.
Damn.
It's a high one, and just because it's Friendly, everybody thought Friendly was just this weird sort of side comedic character who's just a little bit funny. Oh, yeah, he likes numbers. Oh no, shit, this guy's got like severe fucking PTSD. Oh shit. And there's just that realization and just the way that he puts it into words with the descriptions and the flashbacks. And it's pretty incredible. So yeah, I reckon an 8 out of 5. 8 and a knuckle.
8 and
Jeff?
a knuckle.
What do you
8
think,
and a
Jeff?
knuckle. Interesting. I feel so alive. Okay. Sorry. I think I'm.
It's the most gay shit you've ever said.
Oh, I wish I knew the rest of the words to that song. I would have followed you.
I forgot whoever sings that too. Is
It doesn't matter. Continue.
Yeah. So, all right. It's good. It's intense. It's a little short. I remember reading it and it just flew right by. 7 and a knuckle for me. I enjoyed it. What I really enjoyed about it is the reverse kind of perspective we get in terms of Friendly. We see, for the most part, like I said, calm, cool, collected, even keeled. There's always a step. There's a process. There's an order to things, baby. He knows what to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He gets it done. But here, he's scared. He's a scaredy cat, and it's okay because I'd be scared too. Fuck. And the closest we got to see him otherwise, obviously, like it's been referenced, we've talked about it. It wasn't too long ago. Cowardice, that might even still be kind of affecting him too. That kind of post, I don't want to say like post traumatic, like that post Cowardice come down, right? Where he just lost his absolute shit. Because actually, now that I think about it, Cowardice was somewhat of a similar.
And we never had a follow up from that from Friendly.
No. And if we think about it, Cowardice is a similar sensory experience in terms for Friendly. Not the same that, I'm talking about in the build up to him losing his shit. We do remember that he was kind of sweating, he was focused on the game and he was able to count, the dice rolls and everything. But there was a lot of people, there's smoke going around, jeering. There's so much stimuli that, remember, if you guys remember, he was kind of getting overstimulated, right? And so I think we see when there's too much stimuli, Friendly either lashes out or kind of shuts down, which I think is actually pretty, par for the course for anybody. Just I guess his specific trigger is, again, like I said, do not insult his dice. Harrison, did you give out a score?
No, I think that a 6 and a knuckle. I think it's just a little shorter. I really like the air and the aspect of it. Like we get a lot of the atmosphere in this one is what really sells it for me. But for me personally, It's not like unexpected that Friendly feels this way. We kind of already know it. It's just I just really love the atmosphere. So I think 6 and a knuckle is what's fair for me.
Okay, I like it. I can't hate that. It's good. Enjoy that very much. So we're gonna move on to our next segment, which is our character spot, and the timing of this character spot is just mwah. It's just good. It's great. It's so unfortunate for this character, though. Boys, who is our character?
It's the poor man we have once mentioned already. The poor man who has just got rolled over. You almost wonder, like, did he survive?
No. Oh my God! Imagine. Imagine. Oh
we
God!
did
Hold
that
on.
POV Joe. Everybody at Joe on Twitter.
Tag that motherfucker. Tag him.
We just
want-
want to join Milanese soldier. Let's go. Oh,
No,
sorry.
no,
yeah.
Milanese soldier. Sorry.
Talanese, Balinese.
Yeah,
Listen,
dying Talanese soldier in the siege of Viscerain.
we
I think
want him,
Polynesia would be very different.
but we should make it clear to Joe that he has to have lived and survived this, but it has to be in the most fucked up way, like that
Yeah,
flat
that's-
bolt paralyzed him or something.
Yeah, but then he gets taken in by a Viscerain family, and he falls in love with the daughter, and they have a child, but then that child gets killed and when the Union invade. I don't know. I'm just fucking making shit. Yeah. He's always ends up what's his character arc? He always ends up just being a witness. He has no power. He just sits there and gets abused over and over again. Left to watch.
Just like real life.
Yeah.
It's great because he's like the rest of us.
Okay. All right.
Man, I gotta stop reading these books before I get depressed.
It's too late for us, George. Embrace it.
Too late.
It's too late. I'm gonna drink.
Matter of fact, George, what are your thoughts on the soldier?
It's just so it's the experience of every fucking person that's gone to die in a war that they don't really fucking understand,
Mm-hmm.
And I can go on and on and on and on about fucking World War One poetry or whatever.
I love World War One poetry.
It is, it's great, but it's just sad. This guy probably just has a life, ambitions, dreams, hopes, whatever. Things
gone.
Just gone because Duke also decided that he wanted Styria to be his.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of
Of course,
more.
there's more to it, but I'm being
right.
poetic.
Well, be poetic. I'll cut this bit out so this way you can keep that poetic sense.
No,
Hold
Jeff,
on.
that's a good funny bit we talked about.
Okay. All right.
Cut that bit out though.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I don't know. What really strikes me about this is the two things. He got his fingers cut off, and he must have not made a peep. So he must have maybe didn't like. I honestly do think he might have been like paralyzed somewhat. That bolt through the neck kind of severed his spinal column, because if he felt it, he could have screamed. Friendly and Casca would have heard that, and they would have realized that as they walked up to his body, right?
Well, that could have just been automatic,
Maybe, possibly.
If you shot through the spine, that like there's all sorts of muscle reactions and shit. That's perfectly plausible, if not perfectly possible. I don't know.
Mhm. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying. But my point is, that's terrible.
He could have been shot through the throat, and maybe I don't know.
Well, if he's through the
why are we
throat,
focusing on this detail?
I am. You're not letting me finish. God damn it! I'm
Has
saying
Harrison even given his rating?
he did. He gave his rating and he introduced the guy. He's talked about the guy. Jesus, you got to stop drinking, man. All right. So my point is, this guy is paralyzed. His fingers fell through. Not fell through. His fingers got cut off. Right. This guy's fingers got cut off. He felt it at least was awake for it. Begged Friendly to help, and Friendly just goes, I don't know how, and he turns him over to be face down into the ground. Doesn't even try to kill him. Doesn't even let him at least look up at the night sky or something.
That's exactly that ties in what I was saying with about how Friendly is just a sociopath because he doesn't feel empathy for anybody. He just like looks
Whoa,
at people.
whoa,
and
whoa, hang on,
I see. He was like, I don't-
hang on, hang on.
He doesn't. He doesn't look at the guy and go, "Oh, I'm sad about it." He's just confused.
No, he says how he doesn't know what to do. I think in his the whole overwhelming of all the stimuli and all this stuff, he was like initially shocked when the guy was, "Hey, help me." I think Friendly just shut down, didn't know how to react, and at that moment just did what he knew how to do, which is go through the motions, do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
why would he
'cause-
turn the guy over? Because
No, listen, because he doesn't.
he
Like-
doesn't want to see him.
No, I don't. Maybe you're right, George. But my thought is that he's sitting there. He doesn't. I think Jeff is right for the most part. Like he doesn't know what to do, and he's in a panic state. Like he's. Let's be honest. He's autistic, right? He sees this person on the ground. They say, "Help me." He's not translating that as how can I help this guy. He's literally hearing "help me." So he says, "I don't know how to do that."
Right.
I'm just gonna turn you over because maybe you'll die faster. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to look at him. Maybe it's a combination of both.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think Friendly lacks empathy. I think Friendly obviously doesn't know how to express it. I also think he doesn't know how to just process his own emotions. He remember like
All of the above.
yeah, when he meets Casca and we see that perspective of how they mirror each other in the sense of Casca goes, "Oh, Friendly makes me feel so calm and cool and collected because of his calm and his cool nature." And by him not wanting to speak, it makes me, he's just listening to me so that I can talk more. Whereas for Friendly, he goes, Casca's confidence, it fills up the room to the point where I'm not required to say anything. I don't need to fill up my part of the space, so I can just be myself. But they don't know. He doesn't necessarily know how to express that. Not Friendly does. At least he doesn't. And the only time he does kind of express anything is in his fear or in his rage. Those extreme emotions, those negative emotions.
100%. Yep.
So, yeah, man, don't come at my boy like that. He got emotions.
It's the old
Oh
nature
my
versus
God.
nurture argument. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Okay. Well, I enjoyed that character spot. That was nice because even though it was a character spot on that dead soldier, it was another like treatise on our boy Friendly. I like that.
Yeah.
I liked it. So we'll move on to our second and final chapter read through. This is Mercy and Cowardice, and this one we are looking at from the perspective of our girl, our homie, Monscato Mercato, and she is staring at Shiver's fine naked northern self. Shivers is staring out the window at the chaos that is what we now know to be viscering. And she keeps thinking back to Benna, which is weird. When you see a naked man in your bedroom and you think about your brother.
I do also want to point. This came to my mind just now. Benna always pops up, and Benna has always been there with her. It makes sense totally. We kind of, that's understandable. But Benna has always held her back, even after he's dead.
Yeah.
She's stuck. She's absolutely stuck. And
absolutely. I mean, besides the whole Cersei Jaime Lannister dynamic here,
what are you talking about? That's propaganda, bro. That's propaganda. That's not true.
Yeah, don't believe the posters.
What are you, fucking Ospreyan? Jesus.
Jesus. So besides being pro-racist, Harrison's now pro-incest. Okay, great.
I'm pro-Talons. Okay, I'm pro-Talons. Pro-Talons and pro-Monza.
Make up your mind. So I think, I agree. Especially because in her mind, besides that stuff, she's failed in the whole being the protector role for Benna, obviously. So that is always going to hold her back to some extent. Shivers ask out of nowhere, how did you buy this place? And she goes, well, my brother bought it a long time ago. And then he goes, yeah, so you two, you were close, huh? And she goes, yeah, we were close. He goes, yeah, Me and my brother were close. Everyone that
Not in the same way.
Oh, so now it's not propaganda. Oh, okay. I got you, Harrison. And he goes to talk about like the fact that his brother was one of those guys that was well liked by people that knew him. He got killed by a man called the Bloody Nine. He got killed when he'd been promised mercy, and his head was nailed to a standard. Monza, internally, she goes, "This is kind of boring. Don't really care for this." And also, it's kind of making me think of Benna and his death. She goes, "Oh, who'd have thought we'd had so much in common? Did you take revenge?" And Shivers goes that he says that he dreamed of it, that it was his fondest wish for years, and that he's had more than one chance to take revenge on the Bloody Nine. Something that a lot of men would kill for, and he didn't. The first time he saved his life, and the second time he let him go to be a better man. And then Monza goes, "Oh, so you've been out here talking about wanting to be a better man, peddling mercy," she says. "Thanks for the offer, but I'm not buying because you're full of shit," kind of thing. And Shiver says that he's not sure he's selling anymore, that he's been trying to act the good man all this time, talking about taking the righteous path and trying to convince himself that he did the right thing by walking away, breaking the circle, but he didn't. And honestly, that mercy and cowardice are the same, just like Monza told him. And no matter what, the circle keeps turning. And taking vengeance, it might not answer any questions. It might not make the world a better place, but it's better than not taking it. That's for sure.
Mm.
And then
that's a very a kind of astute observation about the world there, that it is the kind of tenacious and ruthless people that will get ahead of the world. There isn't a single fucking millionaire or billionaire out there that isn't a little bit fucking predatory.
We'll talk about that.
I know a couple of those guys, and I don't think that's necessary. I think that's a bit.
It's a bit rough.
I say that as a very broad generalization, but again,
you say that as a communist. That's what you say it as.
What I mean is that in order to climb, you have to climb over somebody else.
I don't think so. I mean, look, not to get to divulge.
Too sidetracked, yeah.
No, yeah, not to get too sidetracked to divulge too much personal information. I'll say that my boss, who owns the company, is one of I know for a fact he didn't climb over anybody. He just, it's hard for me to talk about it because then it would be very obvious as to what I do or what company I work for. But
sure,
you know what I mean. He's a good guy.
I get you. And I think the same way about my boss. I'm sure Harrison doesn't think about the same way about his, but
I do not. But I understand. But I did grow up with a family friend who did very well for himself, and he's got problems like we all do. But I would say that I don't think he falls into that category.
Yeah, I think, George, maybe what you're trying to say. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mean to.
I think this is the exception to the rule, right? You know these people, but in general, I'm thinking about the richest people.
You're thinking about Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, the people at the top. Fallon and Bob. Those people.
Jeff Bezos was lucky he had a garage. That's all. What? I don't get the whole big deal with.
That's not a good route.
Sorry, was that Jeff Baez there?
Jeff Baez, exactly. Here's the thing. I know you try to relate it to it's about getting to the top, richest people and everything. I don't think that's necessarily what Shivers is going for here. To me, it reads more of what's the immediate, not gratification, I guess, or he talks to the people around him. He's not expecting to be rich, right? Even before he met Monza or after met Monza, he expects to get paid for what he's doing. But he talks about being a better man. He thinks that that's just the right way to go, right? He's not. This is not about him rising to the top. This is just about him doing the small menial task to be good, in and of itself goodness, and therefore being rewarded for that. And rewarded for that for himself is, in his mind, is making a life for himself, a plot of land, etc., etc., etc. but he keeps finding himself making the choices that he's made in the past, whereas it's violence and death. And now he's
Now he's
talking.
justifying it.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily about that. And I think, well, there's a lot to talk about Shivers. So to not get too sidetracked, but I think that he is just frustrated with his initial perception of his perception of the world, and honestly his perception of himself. He probably thought too highly of himself, and he didn't recognize the fact that everyone is not only capable of doing bad things, because you can just lie to yourself and say you're going to do a bad thing for a good reason, but that we're all easily capable of being a bad person. Mm-hmm. And I think Shivers is having a very difficult time coming to terms with that. Yeah. That therefore it's just good to be a bad person, whereas he's not necessarily seeing the forest.
Yeah. And Monza simultaneously is having a hard time because she, as we saw in the previous chapter, and we'll see soon on, that she is upset that Shivers is less optimistic because that's what she actually wants to be. And just a little side note, but we're going to move on now.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I was going to say, unless George has anything else to add to it.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want me to add to that?
No?
We'll talk about this another time.
All right.
We'll make a YouTube video out of it.
Ooh, we could. Keep listening. And she says to this part, she says to him, I thought you were set on being Steria's last good guy. And he says, I've tried to do the right thing when I could, but you don't get a name in the North without doing some dark work. This is true. He kind of recognizes this, that he fought beside Black Dow and Crummick Fail and the Bloody Nine himself, for that matter. So 3 famous names for being psychopaths, especially Crummick in some other ways.
Again, though, he's missing the point. It's not about who you're with; it's about what you do. And even though he hasn't done that much bad himself, he's like, "Well, I was with those guys, so I'm kind of bad too." And you're like, "No, that's not."
And he did do. He says it. He did his share. He says that. He's done terrible things. And then he goes to Monza. He goes, "You think you guys have cold hearts down here? You should see the winners where I come from." But Monza does pick up that there's something to the way Shivers is looking right now that she hadn't seen it before and didn't expect it. And I think she's taken aback. She goes, "Oh, wait a minute. This guy he's
giving her the eyes."
Maybe not necessarily the eyes, but like
fuck me eyes.
no, not that. Jesus, Joe.
I'm joking.
He is probably doing that though. Let's be real.
He is definitely doing.
Maybe to Monza's perspective, Shivers has been dependable in the fact that he can do dirty work when necessary, but she sees, he's a good guy, a decent guy at heart. But she sees a side of him, especially a certain look to his face, that she goes, "Oh, wait a minute, this man might be a bad boy." Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. She's a little caught off guard. She didn't. Yeah. Obviously, Monza's one of her flaws is that she's so caught up in herself, especially right now, that even though she's a good judge of character initially, she thinks she's got people figure it out without realizing that they change. She thought she understood Benna changed. She thought she understood Casca changed. She thought she understood Shivers changed. And even though we'd like to talk about people don't change, they absolutely do. And Shivers, she's seeing this in real life, and she's still just kind of denying it because she can't see it. So she's a little surprised, like you said. She's like, "Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. There's more to this guy than I initially thought there was."
Yep. And we see that point where she asks him, "Well, why'd you save me at Cowardice? You didn't have to come back for me. I would have been, it would have been done. All of this would have been fucked up."
I love how he's completely honest. He's just like, "Yo, you still owe me money."
Yeah, but he's not honest there, though. That's not why. That's not
because he wanted to fuck her, bro.
he has the hots for her. That's why.
Yeah.
As she goes, well, I don't know about all that. And he goes, "Look, I don't know. Maybe you are buying mercy after all. Letting me into your bed, letting Furley and his family stay in the house. I think you are buying a little bit." And she goes, "Well, maybe I'm still just a soft-hearted farmer's daughter." So
it's true.
Very true. And then he goes, oh, besides, what's my choice anyway? Put them out in the street. They might start talking. Here, they're safer where they owe us something. And he goes, listen, safest for us is them being dead. She goes, I like this part. She goes, why don't you go downstairs and put all our minds at ease then, and just kill him, right? Shouldn't be a problem for the hero that used to carry Black Now's luggage. And he goes, now.
Oh, that's so. She did that on purpose. She definitely.
Yeah,
Probably,
Black Now, the most nowest name of the North.
Exactly, she's negging him.
Yeah, she's negging him. That's right. You're right. He goes, listen, I'm not saying we should have killed him. I'm just pointing out the fact that mercy and cowardice are the same. I heard. And Monza retorts that she'll do what needs to be done, but she doesn't. She's not Morvier. She's not murdering people just for her convenience. And then he goes, oh, really? Okay. So I guess it was different, though, when it came to the bank with Malthus. And she goes, that wasn't the plan. And he goes, not either Cowardice. And she goes, listen, it didn't go the way I had in mind either, goddammit. And he goes, listen, I noticed the Butcher Capril they called you, right? What happened there? And she goes, what needed doing? And doing it and liking it are different things. And she goes, listen, I didn't bring you up here to remind me of my mistakes. I made enough of that. So she goes, look, I have an awful weakness for big men with tiny minds. So basically, they now we're getting to like flirtatious behavior, showing off her wounds. And
your favorite part, Jeffrey?
Huh?
Your favorite part? And by the way, Monza did state her like a huge part of her character there. She not the weakness for big men with small minds, but the sorry, I said a brain fart.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
It happens to the rest of us.
Dude, fuck. Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry, Jeffrey, for the edit. But
I'm not editing this. Go ahead.
What?
No, okay, so what she says there's a bit, like needing doing and not liking it. She spent her entire life doing things that she felt like she needed to do and not liking it. Very relatable and like fundamental core to her character, I think.
Yeah. Yep, very true. And as I said, that they're getting flirtatious now. Shivers goes, I'm starting to feel that you're not so tough as you make it out to be. She goes, oh no. They talk about like their wounds and the scars. She shoves her scarred hand in his face, and he goes, that doesn't bother me. And she's like, oh, snaps. And then it's about to be like a bounce, check out, wow, wow. We're seeing it, And then basically,
they go fuck.
They fuck, yeah.
They start fucking.
We don't have to go into detail about this plot.
But there is one part.
Sure,
there is one detail though. They're getting into it, right? They're getting all nasty, and she starts like, I'm gonna slip my finger around his thigh, and he's like, yeah, I like that. And then she starts getting a little closer to his ass, and he's like, okay, yeah, some women like that. And then she gets her finger and she slips it in the ass, and he goes right up
to the first knuckle.
First knuckle, baby.
In Pacey's line delivery and stuff, he's like, what the fuck? But she's like, all right, doesn't make you less of a man. Your ass, your business, I'll keep clear of it. And she's like explaining, like she's obviously done that before. And he's like, no, not that. You hear something?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, no, fuck that. Come on, let's keep fucking. And then something comes to the door.
A bangs through the fucking door, just barges it right open. How rude! Fuck me. That's the last position that you want to be caught in, is when you're fucking. Right?
Oh yeah, super vulnerable, super.
It's like when you're having a shit. Like it's just not.
You're good. Like, bro, really?
That crosses the line.
But she goes, Monza, like, she reacts pretty quick. She goes for a Calvin's, but that woman comes in and she's like, no, you don't. Don't even fucking think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes over there and, she gets her to drop Monza. She gets Monza to drop the Calvis. And they start walking around and they're obviously like, there's a couple of them, right? They're all armored up and got weapons and shit.
Shivers his feet bleeding.
Yeah. Because Shivers is like, I'm going to fight him, and he just gets doinked.
Doinked?
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter how muscular you are, as long as the other guy has
armor and weapons.
A big stick with a bit of metal on the end.
Mm-hmm.
They start looking around, and one of the people are like Captain Langrier, as in talking to the woman who is there.
Progressive.
Yeah. See, damn it, Chip. They find some Talonese uniforms. They're like, oh, clearly they're Talonese spies. Which, by the way, doesn't make any sense. Why would Talonese spies bring Talonese uniforms into the? But whatever.
Whatever.
So they're it's obviously someone to point a finger at. Obviously, so they start like, you got anything to say about this? And Monza, I really like this about Monza, like, and she's completely caught off guard and she is like fumbling. It's like, it always makes me sad because she sounds like she does. It's like a really good chapter right here for the symmetry of the narrative. She starts acting like a fucking like an innocent farm girl. She's like, oh, you saw what you think. You don't. She fucking completely. She completely seizes up, basically. I mean, she says words, but they don't mean anything, really. And she's like, what are you talking about?
It touches on a theme of there is a regression with all the characters. Like, every single character, we see it with Friendly in the previous chapter, and with Monza now, that they kind of regress to kind of like their primitive states when they're put under extreme pressure.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll see Shivers very soon do the same thing. I didn't think about that, George. Shivers does that. Monza does that here. Monza does it more often than most in these books. Mm-hmm. And basically, they talk about how they found poison in the other room. Obviously, Morvir's poison, and they're like, "Oh,
extreme
poison!"
And very conspicuous looking instruments.
yeah. I love how he says poison. You say, Sergeant Pello. Well, that's damn suspicious. And then Monza again is like, I can explain it. I promise I can explain it.
I love how in a monologue, like, knowing damn well that she couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but also at the same time, though, what else do you do? Like, so Captain Langria is like, all right, let's come on, you can explain back at the palace, and they start binding them up, and they're being pretty rough on them, and they're still naked. They don't give a fuck about their clothes, and they're like, can we at least get our clothes? Like, nope. Here we go. We're getting on the way. And
before they get on their way, I was gonna say.
Yes. Before they get in the way, they notice all of Monza's scars, and they're like, "Damn, how did you get shit like that?" And she's Monza has one of the best lines ever. She's composed herself a little bit, right?
She does, but I want to say before. I think what they're looking at is not the scars necessarily, but I think it is the scars, right? It's everything,
all the lumps and deformities and like.
Well, no, the certain lines from when that guy, the bone thief or whatever, sutured her up. They were like, we've never seen that before. That's weird. I think that's
some advanced medical technology.
That's crazy. That's huge.
What's that?
They're not. It's not normal like battle scars. They're like scars that wouldn't normally be there at all. So
I mean, and that makes sense because you wouldn't see surgery scars like on anyone because most of them died.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But Monza's now had enough time when she's composed herself, and she kind of starts getting back into her groove, at least for a minute here. And she's like, "How'd you get?" Captain Langria is like, "How'd you get all those scars?" She's like looking at her, and she says, "I was shaving my cunt, and the razor slipped." And Captain Langria is like, "Oh, I like that. That's funny." I love how natural that feels.
Chucks her right down the stairs.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a juxtaposition, isn't it? Like, This has been a relatively like harmless kind of interaction so far. Like a few smacks on that, and suddenly we're really serious. Like,
Oh yeah.
you can kill somebody by throwing somebody on the stairs.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this whole episode is like the entire shift of perspective goes from being like, yeah, we're in Viscerain. Yeah, I grew up here. Yeah, we're practicing. We have a plan to, bun. Hans Zimmer, bun.
I love how Monza realizes her mistake immediately. She's like, "Oh shit, I didn't think about Thalia."
Yep.
She didn't think about the other side. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
she didn't. Oh shit. She's like, "Oh fuck, I fucked up."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Langria takes off her ring, Benna's ring, the ruby ring, and they're like, yeah, it looks good on you, and obviously that triggers Monza, but you can't really. What is she gonna do? And they're sitting down there, they're looking around, and they see Day. Day is also there, and she's sitting down with her hands bound up, and they meet some eyes.
She has clothes, at least that.
Yeah, she's got at least clothes on, and she's just sitting there though, and they shove Monza down into the kitchen, and then she goes up to the family that's actually down there. There seems Burly. I keep wanting to say Forlorn.
I can just imagine his smug face,
Oh well, I don't know. I don't think so.
I can see it. I think when they eventually make this film, well, it is going to come out, and it's not just a pipe dream. I can see that smug face, just like, yeah, I did the right thing, even though you're just a little rat, furly rat.
Yeah, but I will say, there's a big difference between not feeling guilty, which is what is specifically stated here, and being like, I got you, bitch. I think it's more of a, I did what I had to do, because the truth is that Monza showed them kindness. She could have kicked them out, and she didn't. And I don't think he feels good about that, but he also doesn't feel bad about it either. I think there's a neutral feeling of, I did what I had to do. It's your fault for getting in trouble, but you were nice, so that sucks balls.
She should have just given them some gold,
She should have given them some gold and kicked him out. Absolutely. If she wanted to do it properly. But
if you wanted to do it properly, she should have just had them all killed. Sorry, but
You're fucked up, Jeff. You're fucked up, Jeff.
Well, when you're on a vengeance tour, you can't necessarily,
That's the whole point of the story, Jeff.
Well, she shouldn't have started this vengeance tour in the first place then. She should have just went to fuck the Soljuk or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Well, basically, Langria says, looks like you were right. 5 scales for each of them. There's 3 of them, so that's pretty good money.
Yeah, spies.
We know. Yeah, look, obviously they're spies, and why wouldn't they think they're spies? Let's be real. Even though how silly it sounds, poison, Taiwanese uniforms, people hold up in a building they haven't been for, spying around and sneaking around and shit. So they take the money.
I find it funny though, because it, for who they actually are, it's actually a very little.
Yeah, and she looks at Furley and is like, she could see in his eyes that he obviously is like, yeah, I did the right thing. Which, why wouldn't you be? I would be. If my family was there, I'd be like, I did the right thing. I got rid of some spies. These guys were obviously sketchy as fuck. Obviously. Then, but Monza, all she is thinking is what Materia wrote, which is mercy and cowardice are the same. Which is interesting, even though she's thought about that her whole life. She's still trying to reinforce that in her mind. Like, she almost doesn't believe it herself.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a quick note, they asked Furley, you said there were more? And he goes, yeah, there were 4 others. So obviously that means we're waiting on Vitari, Morvir, Casca, and Friendly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we will see what happens to them. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our second and final chapter read-through, Mercy and Cowardice. Boys, how do you rate that chapter?
I am going to go slightly lower. I'm going to go for a 6. I do enjoy all of the interaction between Shivers and Monza.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy it. I just think that the sex scene is just a little bit... It is a bit gratuitous, I'm not going to lie.
I would say out of all the sex scenes in the entire series, this one definitely fears the most...
Yeah, it brings it down,
perfectly put, gratuitous, yeah.
You think this is the most gratuitous? Squelch? Hello? Jesus.
Oh my God, Squelch has its place. Jeff.
Squelch serves its purpose.
Crazy Squelch.
What, one finger of the butthole, you guys turn into fucking prudes. Okay, I see it.
Oh my
No,
God!
I'm just talking about the length of it. It's like a full.
Pages, yeah, it takes half the chapter is.
It's like 2 pages. It's like 2 pages, guys.
And but that whole chapter is 4.
It's not 4. Is it 4? It's not 4.
It's 5 pages.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
but yeah, I get what he was going for. It's awkward and it makes you feel awkward, but it just makes you feel awkward just that little bit too long, you know.
Yeah,
and I think that just brings it down just a little bit. So I'm gonna reckon, actually, I'm gonna say a 4 out of 9.
Fair.
4 out of 9. Okay.
I think I'm gonna rate it. I think 4 and a knuckle for me. I really like how they we get a lot of Shivers and Monza's character inside of like this short little period of time, and I think that's what holds it up. And it is kind of crazy, right? Like these people break in and you're like, whoa, hang on, whoa, wait. Like you don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. So it definitely escalates the tension by a huge degree. But I also agree. I do think that about half the chapter is this kind of, obviously Joe has these sex scenes, and we're men. We don't have a problem with sex scenes, but it does seem to drag on a little bit too long. So I think that 4 and Knuckle is good. It progresses the plot, adds some character, but it's also setting building blocks for the next chapters that come up, which I think are a little bit better.
Those are good scores, fellas. I like that, and I think I'll go 5 and a Knuckle, because these are short chapters. And not these are short chapters, my apologies. This is a short chapter. Didn't get too much. We saw some interaction and development in terms of Shiver's regression into being a piece of shit. We don't know about that yet, but going down a dark path. We get some pow shaka wow between them, and a nice, some appreciation of the rear end, the rectum, the anus. And then we get, they get caught, and now they're bound, and they're going to be taken away. And because they were betrayed by the farming family, these cocksuckers. But besides that, not too much happened. It's more about keeping us in anticipation for what's to come. So let's move on to our final segment, community interaction. Harrison, that's you. Take it away.
So for community interaction, we have gone with, I posted a poll. I know you guys haven't seen one in a while, but both because of, life and because we talked about it once maybe, but we ran out of so many poll ideas, to be honest. I mean, I did all of them, and we went through a lot of different subjects. I mean, I had like a year full of them, week after week after week, like 50 of them in a row. And I don't want to rehash. Maybe in another year, I'll start doing them again or something. I don't know. But I did think of this one when I was going through, which is best alternative names. There's like nicknames of characters. There's a lot of these in the first law, and I couldn't even put them all into the poll, but I put the ones I thought of initially and just kind of wanted to listen to what some other ones were. The thought is like there's just some cool names out there. Obviously, we have what I put in the poll, which is Soldier of Fortune for Casca, Snake of Talons, Smoke for oh my god, guys, help. Shy, thank you. My brain completely broke. And then the Young Lion, obviously, and the Bloody Nine. Those are the ones that just came to my head. I wanted to get the discussion out there because I knew everyone else would mention them. The ones that were cool as fuck. Which is true. I'm going to mention the other ones before you guys mention what your favorite is, because there are some good ones in here. There is Old Sticks for Galacta, which is solid. And there is also the Young Lamb for Orso, which I know we're inclined to like, but let's be honest, it does not use very much. Red Three Trees' actual, like his nickname, his title, his alternative name is the Rock of Ufrith, which I completely forgot about. Yeah. Which is literally solid.
That's a really good one. The Rock of Ufrith. I mean,
it's so badass. It's so badass.
I just want to mention that you literally left out the best comment, which is the little kid that called Pip that became Stranger Come Knocking.
Oh my God. Well, the thing is, no, George, you fell into the trap, right? I specifically stated in caps, in fact, that I am not counting
That's a
Northman
nickname.
names. No. It's
Shit! I didn't
that
read
is
your
his
post. I'm so
actual
sorry.
name. Yeah, that's his actual name. I do not mean the name men of the North. That is his actual named man. See, and I even
why
gave
is
an
the Bloody
example.
Nine in the poll then?
Because that's his nickname.
Yes, listen, George, just listen for a second.
What?
Logan
That's
9.
his name. That's his
No,
name,
it's
isn't it?
not, George.
No,
George.
Nine Fingers is his name.
Yes.
Oh,
Jeff is right.
Shit,
I even
I
laid
never
it
thought
out.
about it. I never thought about it that way.
I laid it out in the poll. I laid it out. Logan's name is Nine Fingers. His nickname is
in caps
Bloody Nine. Yeah.
Mhm.
So thanks for that, George.
I'm glad that I gave you an opportunity to call that out.
other people mentioned it as well. The only one I think I missed completely, it didn't even cross my radar, which is Javra, the Lioness of Huskop. Super cool. It's the most, and I replied to him as well. It's probably one of the most fitting nicknames for a character for her, Javra, the Lioness of Hopscop. Yeah. I don't even know what Hopscop is. Even if we had a map, like an official map,
I don't think it's even on the map. I'm looking at it.
No, it's not on the map. But the Lioness of Hopscop. Yeah, it's great. It's perfect. But what do you guys think? What's your guys' favorite, name, like alternative names for characters?
I'm
it's okay. You got to go standard. Yeah,
I have to go standard.
It's okay to go standard. I'm not going to criticize you for
no.
loving the Bloody Nine.
I mean, look, I love the Bloody Nine, right? It's a name that kind of just strikes fear, right? But what I like besides that, which is like kind of like the go-to, I like what you mentioned earlier, the Rock of Uferth, because it's such a badass sounding name because it's implacable. The man can't be moved. I like that a lot, and I do like Lamb because of the juxtaposition of who Lamb really is. It's so funny, right? Both start with the letter L, Logan, Lamb, but Lamb it's really funny. Not funny, but it's just like I said, it's just funny. Like
I know what you mean in comparison.
This guy portrays himself. I can't get to it. We can't spoil. But all right, yeah. But yeah, those are my two.
You can spoil.
I think I'm leaning.
Literally a wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Yeah, exactly that. But I think I'm gonna stick to Rock of Uferth as my go-to for sure.
Yeah, I think one last name I forgot to mention. Somebody did say, doesn't that mean the Great Wolf qualifies? Correct. The Great Wolf does qualify. And say what you will about Star Nightfall, the Great Wolf, like the Young Lion, is a pretty cool nickname. George, what do you think?
It is a pretty cool name.
What's your favorite nickname?
Is it the Great Wolf?
I'm doing exactly what you did earlier, right? I had a really good argument, and then you guys were talking, and I just got absorbed in it.
Fair enough. Happens to me every single day.
I thought Stowers was the Young Wolf, not the Great Wolf.
No, he's the Great.
Yeah, he's called the Great Wolf, bro.
Leo's the Young Lion, and
right.
He's the Great Wolf.
Stowers the Great Wolf. Okay.
Yeah. You know who is the Young Wolf though? Rob Stark. So that's fair enough. I would get that confused. I got that confused a couple times myself. So no worries.
I could never confuse Rob Stark with Stout and Nightfall. How dare you?
How dare you? So George, you sure you want to try to give it a shot to try to remember what you're going to say? Your argument?
It's gone.
Well, George, start over. What is one of your favorite names? And
I like it's just a one fucking reference, and somebody made a comment as well when they're having the fight on the hill and they're doing that little sparring session, and Glowood goes, "The young lemon."
The young lemon.
It's so fucking out of place.
I commented back on that one as well. Like Pacey's, like there are so many times in the series whenever Pacey like says a line, especially making fun of a nickname, like the one we mentioned, even now. Stranger come fucking.
This was good fucking and Stour Shitefall.
Sour Shitefall, the young lemon. I love how Joe, even though he comes up with these really, let's be honest, they're so badass. The Rockaboo with the Snake of Talon, the Bloody Nine. Like they're so cool, but he also simultaneously makes fun of them. Like he just fucking dishes on his own shit. It's so good.
It is so good.
But happy that everybody voted, and I really liked kind of talking about them and seeing what the old ones were. So, but that's it for me, Jeff.
Alrighty, so that's our show, everyone, and we want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover The Odd Couple and Darkness.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media, and we have a website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast. Thank you all again for listening.
Do I really have to say it?
What the fuck? Yes!
Your ass, your business.